Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and jump right in and then I'll admit people as they come. I'm Deetra Clark. I'm a therapist by trade and a regenerative health practitioner. And Melissa really felt like people have been struggling a lot. I don't know if it's just a Minnesota thing or if it is just around the globe, but I'm finding this in my practice as well that people are really struggling with one, feeling tired, two, not having energy, three, struggling with depression and anxiety, and four, just feeling out of balance with themselves. Like, I just don't quite feel like myself. Like, they can't quite put a name with it. They can't put a label with it, but they know that something is off. And so, what I wanted to do today is to educate on it's kind of a buzzword, actually, but I really wanted to educate on our adrenals and adrenal fatigue or adrenal weakness, because the adrenals really impact all of those symptoms that I just listed out. So I'll just share a little bit about my story and then I'm going to do some education. So like I mentioned, my background is I'm a therapist by trade. And so I really felt like the whole 15 years I was practicing, I really had this deep understanding of the brain gut connection, but I didn't. I was missing a piece. I was missing a piece that we don't talk about in graduate school. I was missing a piece that was not on my state board test. And it's really this true idea about the brain gut connection and how our body heals as one unit. Everything works together in our body. So you can't isolate. It's kind of like if you go to lose weight and you're like, I just want to lose weight in my butt, or I just want to lose weight in my boobs. You really can't do that. Your body, you may focus on that area, but you're going to notice weight loss or weight shifts in other areas, and our body heals the exact same way. So my story is that I was already eating organically. I was working out. I was drinking all the water, doing all the things that society says that you're supposed to do to feel well. And I still didn't feel well. I didn't feel bad, but I didn't know how good I could feel until I was feeling just that good. And what I was missing, one, was I was missing micronutrition. We are a very macro, calories in, calories out, protein focused society. And so that was really where I was focusing, but I was missing that. And I also did not understand the importance of adrenal health, that my adrenals were, they were so tired. They were completely, I'm just going to mute everybody. They were completely kaput. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. There are 4 stages of adrenal fatigue. I was probably in stage 2 or 3, and I just didn't know it. But because of that, I had really long cycles. My hormones felt a little bit out of balance. And I just thought it's because I had 4 kids. I had nursed those kids. I thought it was because I was working out a lot. Like, I was seeing clients from 9 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. And then I was going to pick up my kids. I just thought it was the pace of my life, but really it wasn't. My adrenals were taxed, and they had been chronically taxed for a long time. And I just didn't know that. And so when I found regenerative health and when I found micronutrition, the light bulbs came back on in my body. And the day of, I'm home now, kids, mommy's just going to go over here and lay on the couch for about 30 or 40 minutes and take a nap. And being irritable, those days were gone. The days of my cycles being so heavy, or it being a whole event before my cycle came each month where I was irritable and tired and all those things, it's like literally that turned off and the light bulbs came on in my body, and I recognized that I had been missing a piece that I didn't even know was missing. So with that, I want to help you all to understand what adrenal weakness is, because like I mentioned earlier, it really is a buzzword. It's kind of like when people talk about ADHD, or they talk about bipolar or mood instability. Some of these things are buzzwords, but I think without a true understanding of what's happening in your body, You can either misdiagnose or you can be struggling with this and miss it just because it hasn't been defined well. So adrenal weakness, also called adrenal fatigue, is really just a disorder in which the adrenal glands don't produce enough hormones. And actually, the adrenals next to the pituitary is probably the most important gland in your body, honestly. You have two of them. You have two adrenals that sit on top of two kidneys. And these adrenals do miraculous things in the body for both males and females. But since this is pretty much a female populated call, I'll just focus on the ladies. They do amazing things in our body, but also they can wreck our body when they're not functioning properly. And a statistic for you is that 50% of people are dealing with some type of adrenal fatigue, and they just don't know it. 50% of people that are dealing with adrenal fatigue will report things like high blood pressure. When you go to, and this is not an anti-Western medicine talk, I just want to make that clear. This is more of a pro-preventative care talk. So when you go to a traditional doctor, if you were diagnosed with high blood pressure, it likely would not come up that is an adrenal medulla weakness. It would likely, like your diet might be discussed. They might ask you about your stress. They may ask you how you're sleeping at night, but never really go into how the adrenals are impacting that. Other things that people who struggle with adrenal fatigue or adrenal weakness will report are asthma, MS, Parkinson's, cerebral palsy, anxiety, or severe anxiety attacks. When I was working with clients day in and day out, and they would come in and I would diagnose them with anxiety or depression, not once did I know to ask them about their adrenals. It's just not how we're trained, but it is a big key, in addition to some other things, for why depression and anxiety are on the rise. Shyness, impatience, irritability, poor carbohydrate and sugar metabolism. So this is people that are like, I can't eat that. My stomach bloats, my belly bloats, my body doesn't break down carbs right. It's likely an adrenal weakness. Now, not all carbs are created equally. Some carbs we should not be eating, but I'm talking about like your fruits and your veggies and things like that that are actually healthy for your body. You will hear a lot of people say, oh, my body just doesn't like that. I get this distended belly. I have bloating. My stomach hurts. That's actually an adrenal weakness. Low or poor libido or no sex drive. Low energy, brain fog, the inability to recall. Why was I going in the kitchen for that? Who was I about to call? What was I going to say? It'll come back to me. That's all a symptom of adrenal fatigue. And then also, when there is adrenal fatigue or an adrenal weakness, we will have insufficient steroid production. And that's super important because that leads to things like ovarian cancer and uterine cancer, breast cancer, cysts that sit on the ovaries, conception issues, difficulties with sustaining a pregnancy or getting pregnant, menstrual bleeding problems. So either like irregular cycles or cycles that go way too long. That was my issue. My cycles went on forever. I was like the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible every month. They were like 12 to 14 days. So I had like 10 good days out of the month. So if I wasn't bleeding, then I was irritable because I was about to start bleeding again. And that's a real issue. It's adrenal fatigue. My body was worn out. Other things like uterine fibroids, endometriosis, fibromyalgia. So people that struggle with like joint pains or feeling like aches in their knees and their elbows, not being able to utilize their joints for full mobility, that is an adrenal weakness issue. Osteoporosis, and then systemic inflammation. So that just generally means like you feel puffy all the time. Like no matter what I do, how much water I drink, how well I eat, I just always feel puffy. That we call that systemic inflammation, which means from the top of your head to your feet, you just feel inflamed. Like if you look at your picture, you're like, oh my gosh, my face looks puffy. It's an adrenal weakness. And then diabetes and low back pain and kidney and bladder weakness all stem from adrenal weakness. So you can see that the adrenals play a huge role in everything. And we have to understand this, because when we're like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm feeling down, I don't have energy, what we're taught is to go for like more caffeine, or let's go for a sugary drink, or, you just need to get some movement in your body, or, like there's this Band-Aid solution, but we're never taught to get to the root. And so that's why when you do the temporary things, the symptomology is still there, because this is the root. And as you get older, as we age, we can get into a place where our adrenals completely shut down. They completely shut down on us. And so I'm going to talk to you now about the 4 phases of adrenal fatigue. And when I learned this, when I went through the Institute of Regenerative Health, I was like, holy moly. Like every time I heard a new phase, I was like, oh, that's my mom. Oh, that's my sister. Oh, that's me. Like we will all be able to either see ourselves in these phases or know someone that needs this information. So before I get into that, do you guys have any questions so far about anything that you have heard or anything you would like me to clarify? Hello, sweet baby. Okay. So we'll keep rocking then. So the 4 phases of adrenal fatigue are: phase 1 is really, this is your super high energy person, the one that you're like, oh my gosh, how do you do it all? How do you get up so early and go all day long doing these things, caring for your kids, running around, and you still have so much energy at night? Or you're like, please sit down, let me help you. You don't have to do all of this. The go-getters, oh my gosh, the Energizer bunnies. That is actually stage 1 of adrenal fatigue. And you wouldn't know to call it that, but I compare it to like your cell phone. You know how when your cell phone is low and just before it dies, it gives you that last surge of energy and then it just crashes on you? That is what stage 1 adrenal fatigue is. So these people are kind of on their last legs, and their body is going into overdrive because it's overcompensating for the adrenals that are no longer functioning properly. Stage 2 is where you're beginning to run out of adrenaline and you're starting to feel fatigued. So this is where you find yourself saying things like, so tired, I just need a nap. You can't quite get there, but you're always thinking about the nap or when you're done with the task so that you can rest. Your body generally just feels tired and like you have no energy. If I could just get another cup of coffee, if I could just go get a Red Bull, I'll feel better. So we're always thinking about the way to get more energy. That's stage 2. Stage 3 is where your nap is literally required to get through the day. So most people that I help are actually moving out of stage 2 into stage 3. So they need the nap in the middle of the day to continue to function, or they like keep turning the alarm off in the morning. We were going to get up at 6 and now it's 7, or they're in bed super early. Or, like at some point in the day, there's going to be an unscheduled point of rest that is needed. When I was seeing clients before I started homeschooling my kids, I would literally build a break in my day and go sit in my car and take a nap. Like I just literally could not go on. And it was about 2 o'clock every day where I would just sit in my car. I would take an hour nap and then I would go back in and I would continue on until I need to go get my kids. And that was my adrenals. They were tired. And then stage 4 is where the adrenals are done. They're completely dry and they're like, we refuse to go on anymore. We're not going to do anything else. And stage 4 is where the person spends the majority of their time in bed. So you find them sleeping in, then maybe get up, they'll do a little something, they go back to bed, they're in bed really early. You will also notice like dark bruising or blue underneath the eye. That's the sign that the adrenals are pretty tired. And then, they're kind of like, I call them man down, honestly, like you're done. We'll just put a fork in you, you're done. And what is commonly, and I used to do this was one of my errors as a clinician. I would commonly diagnose the depression. Okay, you have all the symptoms, you're sleeping more, you're apathetic, you don't have any joy in life. And so we would treat the depression, but the root was the adrenals and the gut. And so you can't outwork that. You can't give enough skills and enough behavioral changes to outwork something that is happening in the body. And it's really important for us as women to understand this because it's super common. Like, as I'm talking, I'm sure you probably all are like, either that was me or that's somebody I know. And it's sadly really too common. So I want to talk about what are the causes. And I'm going to share my screen, or attempt to. No, I'm not. Just kidding. I'm just going to tell you about it. I was going to share it, but it's too hard. So I'm just going to tell you about it. Okay. So here are the causes. Number one, your elimination pathways. Because you have two kidneys and your adrenals sit on top of your two kidneys, your elimination pathways are super important. And what do I mean by that? That means when you pee, do you have waste in your urine? And a simple way to do this, and I recommend every person breathing do this just to figure it out. I was not filtering. When you pee first thing in the morning, when you get up before you eat or drink, if you'll take a clear glass, a clear cup, and pee in that cup, what you're looking for is sediment in your cup. So you're looking for flakes or crystals floating, any kind of cloudiness. That is a sign that waste is leaving your body through your urine. If your urine is completely clear, and I don't mean the color, I mean if it's clear of sediment, that is a sign that you are not filtering. That is dangerous because the way that waste leaves our body is what keeps our internal terrain cleaned up. It's what keeps the body free of waste. I call it draining the swamp or emptying the trash can, right? When you put food in your garbage disposal, you're going to run water, you're going to turn it on, and you're going to make sure that that food has broken down and gone out. Why? Because it stinks and it attracts flies and all kinds of little insects that you don't want in your kitchen. Our bodies are the same way. The inside of our body should look like a lake and not a swamp. And so if you're not seeing filtration in your urine, you want to work really intentionally to get your elimination pathways open, but that's also a telltale sign that your adrenals aren't working. The second elimination pathway is how many times do you poop? So your stools via the colon, okay? We should be eliminating through stools 2 to 3 times a day. If you eat, you should poop. Because otherwise, where does that food go? So if you have, 3 meals a day, but you're only eliminating once a day, what happens to the other 2? They stay in the body, overworking the kidneys, overworking the joints, the organs, the cells, and the tissue. The third way that we really need to pay attention to if our elimination pathways are open is our skin. This is important because it will tell you if waste is leaving your body. So when people struggle with acne, when they struggle with rosacea, eczema, rashes, staph, that is a sign that your elimination pathways aren't open and your body is using your skin as an exit point because it can't get out through your stools and it can't get out through your urine. So the solution is not to throw more cream at it and more face wash. The solution is to make sure that the elimination pathways are able to get the waste out. So that's number one. Number two, the number 2 cause of adrenal fatigue or adrenal weakness is toxicity and glyphosate. So neurotoxicity is everything that you eat, you breathe, you drink, and you put on your skin. We are inundated with toxins. Like literally when we walk outside, we just breathe them in. We pick them up from touching a doorknob. We pick them up from touching light switches. They are in our water supply. They're in our shower water. Like they're literally everywhere. And because of that, our bodies are working really hard to keep us safe. So glyphosate, I did not know about this until 2.5 years ago. But we all should know about it because it's pretty significant. Glyphosate is the main ingredient in Roundup, and it is sprayed on all of our crops and it's in our water. And what it does is it damages the tight junctions in your gut. Why does that matter? Because 80% of your hormones are produced in your gut. So if your gut is damaged, your body's ability to communicate between your gut and your brain, the adrenals, to say, hey, Kelly, we want you to focus. We want you to rest. We want your body to do A, B, C, or D task. Those signals will be delayed because your gut is not functioning properly because of the level of toxicity. And so it's really important to pay attention to what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're putting on your skin, and to work hard to detox that out. So that's the second thing. And in 1980, this is just a little sciencey information. I was born in 1981. So I've not known a world without chemical pesticides sprayed on my food. But in 1980 is when we really started spraying this. And that's actually when we saw this influx of depression, anxiety, and adrenal fatigue, infertility, miscarriages, MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all those things skyrocketed in the amount and the number of that we're seeing occurring in particularly women, but now also children with depression, anxiety, ADHD, and even adrenal fatigue. Children are like, I'm tired, mommy, I'm so tired. And you're like, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. What do you mean? And it's because our children are being impacted by the same chemicals that we are. And so that's why this matters. And it's important to talk about it because when you know better, you can really be proactive in helping to support your body well. Number 3 is stress in your mind and on your body. So our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, when that goes unchecked, it releases a chemical in the body. So paying attention to how stressed you are, your environment, what goes in your ears, what you're seeing, who's around you, who's dramatic, who's bringing the drama, all that stuff impacts stress on you, honestly. And it can wear out your adrenals because your brain is like, I'm really trying here to be positive, but my environment is not helping me. But then also we can bring stress on our body by the foods that we eat. So a checkpoint would be making sure that you're eating organic foods, that you're staying away from acidic foods. So things like processed pastas and starches and rice and coffee and caffeine are not our friends. Coffee and caffeine actually cause our body to be in fight or flight. They create a stress hormone in our body, rev it up real, real good, and then we crash. And day in and day out of that, it works our adrenals a lot. It's kind of like my husband and I have thermostat wars in our home. If the heat is on, it's staying on until we turn it off. We're not going back and forth because all of that back and forth really overworks your system and it will cause it to wear out sooner than it needs to. And our bodies are the same way. Caffeine creates that response in us where we're like, is a bear chasing us? Yes, it is. Let's run real, 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 real fast. And then the body gets tired and then it crashes. I heard a pastor years ago say that caffeine or coffee is the Christian drug of choice because caffeine and coffee have the same response in your body as an opioid drug. It's not our friend. And if we're needing so much coffee and caffeine, it's really a sign that our body is not doing what it is naturally designed to do, which is create energy for us throughout the day on its own. Alcohol creates stress on the body, processed sugar, meat, all of those things, and then dairy, all those things can suppress the body's ability to function well on its own. So I encourage people to really give their kitchen a once over and just kind of go, okay, now that I have this information, what in my kitchen is supporting me to thrive and what is hurting me? The other thing to pay attention to is fish. Fish years ago was like, okay, this is the safe thing to eat, right? This type of meat causes stress on the body. This type of meat is more fattening. Fish is lean, it's light, but This is not the fish that Jesus was feeding the 5,000 anymore because of the chemical toxicity in our water. So it is full of heavy metals, and where heavy metals flow, parasites go. And if you are breathing on this call, if you have a pulse, you likely have been affected by parasites. We all have. Every single person. In other countries, this is common information. They do parasite cleanses throughout the year. In the US, we're like, no, we don't have parasites, but we do. We pick them up everywhere. We pick them up in public bathrooms. We pick them up from each other, walking outside without shoes on. We pick them up when the waiter brings our water and they just came from touching someone else's glass. We pick them up everywhere. And parasites really shut our body down. So I recommend doing a parasite cleanse minimally 3 times a year. The type of parasite cleanse that you do is super important, but you can't know to do it if nobody talks about it. So here I am, your friend today, to tell you that you likely have parasites and to encourage you to do a parasite cleanse, because your body will thank you and you will feel so much better. So now that we've talked about the causes, the last cause I want to help with is gut damage. So I mentioned earlier that, when our gut is impacted by chemical pesticides, how much that impacts us, because 80% of our hormones are made in our gut. And our gut gets damaged when, 1, we're not paying attention to what we eat, 2, stress, all the things that I've mentioned. But in Western medicine, we say a lot that the gut is our second brain, but it's actually our first brain. Our gut is what tells everything else in the body what to do. So you have 9 signals that go from your gut up to your brain and tell your brain what to do. It's kind of the boss. And only 1 signal comes from your brain down to your gut. And so it's important to pay attention to that. And you can repair your gut. You can repopulate your gut, because your energy, your immune system, your feel-good hormones, dopamine, the ability to regulate your emotions, all of those things are really made in the gut. And so when the gut is damaged, you will notice a deficit in being able to do that. It also helps with cellular communication. And if you look at Kelly's little baby, if she brings her back on camera, if that baby falls, look at that sweetness. Goodness. If that baby falls and she gets a little bruise on her, or she gets a little scratch, in probably 2 days, it's going to go away. Her skin is going to recover and the bruise is going to be like it was never there. I'm 41. If I bump my knee, it's going to be at least a week until that bruise goes away, because the older we get, our cells don't communicate as quickly. So 1%, our cells decrease in communication every year after 21, and then 10% every decade. So that's why I'm sharing all this about the internal terrain, because we really can support our body and not aging so quickly, not feeling so tired, not feeling so worn out by the way we treat it, by what we eat and by what we expose ourselves to in our external environment. And so how do we repair adrenals? That's the big question for why everybody is here. How do we fix it? So now I know maybe what I've done wrong. I'm learning some common causes. How do I fix it? And if you have resonated with any of the symptomology that I've given so far, drop a 1 in the comments. I just am curious. And if you feel like you have adrenal fatigue, and you know what stage you're in based on what you've heard me say. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, if you're in stage 4, you're probably not on the Zoom. You're probably in a bed. So most of you are probably either somewhere 1 through 3. Drop that in the comment as well, because that will help me with being able to help you. So Julie says 1. Yep. Julie says she's in phase 2 or 3. Kelly's in phase 2 or 3 of adrenal fatigue. Yeah, it's pretty common. But the good news is it can be repaired. And I am proof of that. I did not even know I had adrenal fatigue, and I have been working on it. It took me about a year to get above a phase 2. And then in this last year, it's been me relearning to do some things, relearning bad habits that wear out my adrenals and going, nope, my body doesn't like that. I'm a big, like 5 or 6 day hit, high intensity sprint cardio workout person, like just all the things. And some days my body is like, we're not doing that today. And I have learned now to go, we're not doing that today. And to respect that, where I used to say, push through. And then I would reward my body with a big cup of coffee. And then I would rush into the office and see clients, for several hours. And I'd rush home. Like there was just no rest in my body. Years of doing that, it was tired. And so this last year has been me relearning and redisciplining myself. So all that to encourage you that your body can heal. And it will if you support it. So my number one tip always is cleaning up your diet. Everything in our body, everything. You just can't outwork a bad diet. You can't. All the self-help books, all the workouts, all the stretching, you cannot outwork a bad diet, because we see in Genesis 1:29, like I believe every principle for how we're supposed to eat can be found in Genesis. I think it's intentional that it's in the first book of the Bible. And in Genesis 1:29, the Lord tells us that he's given us the food, he's given us the plants to be our medicine. And so really focusing on your diet. And I made a post on my personal page earlier this week that the SAD diet really is not intended for kingdom-minded people. Like we are designed to soar with him, right? We're seated with him in heavenly places. The SAD diet, or the standard American diet, makes us tired. After I would eat a heavy, hot, cooked meal full of acid, I just wanted to go take a nap. And if you need a nap after you eat, you have eaten the wrong foods. If food is supposed to be our energy and it's supposed to be our medicine, it should make us want to lay down and take a nap, right? It's not like when the baby drinks mama's breast milk. The intention of that is to help her body to grow. As adults, when we eat, it should give us energy to continue to do the things that we need to do. So look at your diet, take out the things that are not supporting you. And start to pay attention to the whispers of your body. How do you feel after you eat or drink that thing? And if you don't feel well, then I would say take it out. And then I think also it's important to understand there's a difference between healthy and alkaline eating. I hear so much. I see on Instagram, I see on Facebook, everybody's like, how to have a healthy diet. You call anything healthy. You call anything you want healthy, but there's a difference in healthy versus alkaline. So there's two sides to chemistry. There's alkaline and there's acids. We want to be on the alkaline side, which is our cooling foods that give us energy, that feeds our cell, that supports our gut, helps us have a clear brain. Healthy is marketing. So there's a difference. And I just want to break that down because I thought I was eating healthy for a really long time. When I was I wasn't eating bad. I was eating for a particular calorie count or macros, a certain protein level, but it was wearing out my body. And so I would encourage you to look up alkaline eating. I have some videos on my YouTube. You're welcome to reach out and ask me questions. I have a food, I call it a detox food pyramid. And then I have an alkaline eating chart. And I just literally send that to clients. And I'm like, take this to you to the grocery store. And just stay in these colors right here. These are your friends. This is where you want to be. So if you'd like that, I'd be happy to send it to you. Eat nutrient-rich foods. So our soils are so depleted because of chemical pesticides, because of fast farming, and really we are overfed and undernourished. It's why we can eat something and then 30 minutes later we're back in the kitchen like, just feel like I want something else. I didn't quite hit the spot. And it's because we're undernourished, we're depleted. We ate something, but it didn't do anything for us. And so really focusing on foods that nourish your body well and eliminate coffee and alcohol and processed foods and dairy. Like, don't try to I'm just going to cut back a little bit. If you are really wanting to heal your adrenals for a time, completely eliminate those and you will see how much better your body feels. Number two, I really love the scripture. I love to share it with my clients because I think it gives perspectives. In 1 Corinthians 10:23, Paul says, everything is permissible. Everything is allowable. You can do whatever you want, but not everything is profitable for us. And so when you're looking at your diet, is it profitable? Is it beneficial for you based on how you're feeling? And most all of you said, I'm tired. And either I'm tired or I'm real tired based on your 2 or 3. It's not beneficial to you to keep eating some of the things that you're eating. Number 3 is repair your gut. How do you repair your gut? I personally recommend organic gut healing herb, but also making the changes with food that I recommend it will start that healing process, really, because your body actually loves you a lot and it wants to work for you, not against you. And so it's a partnership. It's really like, it's kind of like a covenant, like when you're married, it's like you and your spouse and the Holy Spirit, like you're all in this like little tripod together, this triangle. Well, our bodies are the same way. It's you, it's your body, and it's the Lord, right? It all works together. And as you partner with your body to give it what it needs, your body will work for you. The light bulbs will come back on and your body will do what it was designed to do because you're supporting it well. Number 4 is focus on your sleep. So between 9 p.m. and 12, that is really when our adrenals, our kidneys, and our endocrine system do most of their repair work, 9 to 12. So if you're staying up super late, you're missing those crucial hours when your body is restoring, repairing, and rebooting for the next day. 1 to 4 is when your liver, which is your filter system, your liver is in there going, hey, you had something I didn't recognize today, and we're going to work to get that out. I didn't appreciate that at all. That's when your liver is working. So 9 o'clock is kind of tough. My kid's last baseball game ends at 9:30. I do the best that I can, but I try to get in bed as soon as I can because that's when your body is really going to do this deep work. It's detoxing. It's getting rid of waste. It's getting rid of things that aren't serving it. It's rebuilding. And that's also that REM, or that deep sleep, is really where your endocrine system is going to come back online. And when I'm referring to your endocrine system, I'm talking about everything from your hypothalamus to your thyroid. So people that struggle with like Hashimoto or hyperthyroidism or losing too much weight or gaining too much weight, that is an endocrine system issue. People that struggle with pituitary hair loss, things like that, kidneys not filtering, adrenal glands, all of that is the endocrine system. And so if you're really wanting to help your body thrive in those areas, going to sleep between 9 and 12 is going to be your friend. Number 5 is detoxing from chemicals, toxins, and parasites. And that's all I have to say about that. Everybody needs to do a detox. Seriously. It's not scary. I know it sounds bad. Not all detoxes are created equally. So if you want to know what I recommend, reach out to me. I work with several modalities actually as a practitioner, and I just kind of curate it for each person. But I think every person should do, if you think about 30 or 40 or 50 years of eating things we shouldn't eat, being exposed to things we don't need to be exposed to, stress, life, all the things, and never detoxing from that. It's like never taking out your trash. You wouldn't do that. And our bodies are the same way. You would not wake up every day with last week's trash and be comfortable in your house. Your body's the same way. And then number 6, I mentioned at the beginning of the call that I am not anti-Western medicine. I am pro-preventative care, because pro-preventative care means that you are taking ownership. You're taking part in your health journey. So the reason that I say that is because many people use psychotropic drugs, and they use them for a long period of time. And as a clinician, one of the things that I saw when people would come in that had been on a psychotropic medicine for any kind of condition for a long period of time is that it paralyzes their body's ability to naturally produce the hormones it needs. So in regenerative health, what we say is if you take it, your body won't make it. So for my friends that are like, I can't sleep at night, I don't care what I do, I can't get deep sleep, I'm going to take melatonin. I tell them, don't take melatonin, because if you take melatonin, you're telling your body you don't need to make any more. For my friends that take collagen, because they're like, oh, I'm getting old, my skin looks saggy and gravity's winning, I'm going to take a collagen supplement. Well, if you take a collagen supplement, your body actually naturally produces collagen. So if you take a collagen supplement, you send the message to your body, it doesn't need to make more for you. So the point of that is to say you want to support your body to naturally do what it's been designed to do. God is so smart and so brilliant in how he created us, but marketing and bad research, has us thinking that we kind of got to chase the next thing to get our body to do what it's supposed to do. Now, while I do use modalities to support, they're all organic and they're herbs and they're things your body naturally needs. I call them food. Do not go to the store and buy isolated lab-made things that are going to create stress in your body. And then number 7 is just be confident in the Lord's design. Be confident that he has created your body to thrive. I think it's 3 John 1:2 that says that you would be in good health, even as your soul prospers. And that includes your adrenal. It is not exceedingly and abundantly for us to all be tired and worn out and needing a nap and just struggling to get through our day. There's nothing biblical about that. If we consider the word of God and believe that it's true, it's just not his design for us. And so I just wanted to shed some light on this, one, to give some causes, to give some solutions, but also some encouragement that there is life on the other side of this, that you don't have to just sit by and wait for it to pass, but that you need to actually partner with your body to help it on the other side. So with that, I want to open it up for any questions that you guys might have. And then I'm going to do a drawing for a facial mapping. And I love facial mapping. So there's a couple things that I do in my practice. One of them is to look at the face. Every part of our face tells us about a different organ in our body. And then I also look at the tongue, because there are things in our tongue that also tell us about the health of our body, because the tongue is an extension of your digestive system. So your digestion actually starts in your mouth and goes through your duodenum and down into your esophagus and into your belly. And then to look at the iris. So your eyes tell us like 28,000 nerve endings in your body. So we can look at the iris and see like weaknesses. You're welcome. Bye, sweets. We can look at everything in the iris and see what is happening in the body. So I want to do a drawing for the facial mapping. But first, I want to hear what questions you all have. And I'm actually going to stop the recording now. So if there are private questions, those won't be on there.